Hello Year 4, it's Miss Borhan here. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe, and I hope you all had a lovely weekend. Now I want you to get your papers and your pencils and write down the long date, Monday 15th of June 2020, and the LI to take notes effectively. Well done everyone. Now before we get started, let's do a bit of a recap. So I hope you're all ready. Let's read out the questions first. Is a non-chronological report a piece of fiction or non-fiction writing? What are the features of a non-chronological report? And what are examples of non-chronological reports? So I want you to take your time, pause this section and write down your answers. Excellent, let's go through it. So a non-chronological report is a non-fiction piece of writing. And some of the features of a non-chronological report are heading, introduction, main information, subheadings, diagrams and pictures, caption, and it's written in the third person, present tense, and has a conclusion. Now, remember that not all non-chronological reports will have all of these features. Sometimes some of these features won't be there, but these are just some of the key features that exist in many non-chronological reports. And examples of non-chronological reports are newspaper report, magazine article, formal letter, non-fiction book, information leaflet, and instructions manual. Excellent. Now, if you didn't get these correct, you can just take your time and look through your answers. Let's move on. Okay, so why do we take notes? Why is it important? It's important to gather information about a specific topic. So, for example, if you want to research about bees, we're going to be gathering information about it, and to use within a piece of writing at a later date. So further on in the lesson, this is what we're going to be doing when we do our research. So we're going to be taking notes and use that information for our piece of non-chronological report writing. To analyze a text, to analyze means to really research and to look at the information and understand it, or we take notes to revise for a test. So if we have a science exam, for example, we go through the notes and we go through it again just so that we refresh our memories and that we absorb the information. Well done. So where do you begin when you want to take notes? So when you first open a book, especially if the subject is very complex, it can be very intimidating and you may not know where to start with. So the idea that you have to look at all this information and pick out the important parts can sometimes be overwhelming. So you have to think, where do you start? How do you know which information is important? And how can you shorten some of the sentences when you're taking notes? So there are a few different tricks and tools that can help you make this easier for you. First, you need to find out what you need to know. Examine the pictures and the headings. Read and take notes on one subheading at a time. Take regular brain breaks and make helpful notes. And read and take notes on one subheading at a time. So don't try to tackle the entire text at one time and then take notes, because if you do that first, you'll forget a lot of the information and you'll absorb very little. So make sure you're taking notes on one subheading at a time. And after reading one section, stop and write down your thoughts and answers to any of the objective or review questions you found. This will help you to remember the material due to the writing process, and it will also help to keep your notes organized, and then you can move on to another section and repeat it. So you first, to take helpful notes, you scan for keywords, you skim for important facts, you write down only the key information, you use abbreviations and symbols for visual reminders and emphasis, and you'll use concept maps. So we'll take a look at these methods right now in more detail. When we scan for keywords, think of the important words that link to what you want to find out. quickly scan the text for these words and only read the part of the text that contain your keywords. So remember, non-chronological reports, they're not in any time order. So that means you can go to any subheading that you want, for example, and just read that section if that's useful for your research. You don't need to read it from the beginning. So when you're looking for the keywords, you can go, for example, if one of the subheadings has that keyword, you can go straight to that subheading and just read that subheading and the text over there. Skim for important facts. Once you have found the correct section, you do not have to read every single word. You can skim over each section and take in the important facts. This is one of the skills as well that are very important, skim and scanning. Write down only the key information. Decide what is most important and write that down, and only write down keywords and phrases. You do not need to write in full sentences. If you write down the keywords and phrases, then that'll help you remember what the text was about. So you do not need to write in full sentences. So now let's take a look at this text over here, and I want you to pause this section, read it, and write down only the key information. So you can pause it and read it to yourself. Remember, reading, you need to be reading so that you can develop your fluency, and then you can unpause the video and I'll read it. Excellent. Let's read through it. Life in ancient Egypt was centered largely on agriculture. The majority of the people were involved in farming, and the growing season lasted 8 to 9 months. Wheat, fruits, and vegetables were the principal crops, although there was some pastoral farming of cattle, sheep, or goats. Farmers in ancient Egypt worked to reach a level of subsistence so that they could feed themselves and pay their taxes. During the annual flooding of the Nile, which typically lasted from July until November, farming was impossible. But when the waters receded, a thick layer of fertile silt over the farmlands remained to ensure rich soil for their crops and thick grasses for their grazing animals. Now, what was the key information in this text? I want you to pause and write it down. This is all part of efficient note-taking. Let's go through it right now. So, in green is highlighted the key information. Agriculture, growing season, 8 to 9 months. Remember these figures. Figures are always key information. Wheat, fruits, vegetables, some cattle, sheep, goats, feed themselves, pay their taxes, annual flooding of the Nile, July until November, farming, impossible, waters receded, layer, fertile silt, crops, thick grasses, and grazing animals. So over here, down below, when you're writing your notes, this is how it would look like, and this would help you remember what the text you are reading was about. So again, it starts with mainly agriculture, the growing season, 8 to 9 months, wheat, fruits, vegetables, some cattle, sheep, goats, and so forth. Excellent. So this is all to do with life in ancient Egypt and how it was like. So all these notes over here, when you read it, it would give you information about it. Excellent. Now, concept maps. With a concept map, you are creating a visual setup that helps to explain the relationships between concepts and the main topics. So this is just like a mind map, and we use mind maps in humanities when we were learning about the Maya gods and the pyramids. So you focus on the main topic, and then you can have like little sub branches to it. So would you use a concept map during your note taking? And what do you like about this method of note taking? And what are some of the cons of this method? So for example, over here in this first concept map, the main topic the main focus of the topic is Diwali, so you can write that down in the middle. Just look over here. And then over here you have many sub-branches. So you have over here lights over here. And then you can talk about the significance. Over here they've talked about the significance of light during the festival of Diwali. And then over here there are other sub-branches to do with the festival of Diwali. So this is very good for note-taking concept maps because it can help you visualize your thoughts and it can help you retain the information and the knowledge. So when you're note-taking, this is one method of how you can take your notes, and you can draw pictures as well to go with it, just like a mind map. Abbreviations. So abbreviations are shortened words. Example, for example. This is just shortened. E.g is shortened for example. So you can write info instead of information. So if you shorten a word, don't forget to put a full stop at the end of it to show that it is an abbreviation. Like if you see info over here, there's a full stop at the end. And you can also use symbols. As long as you understand them, you can make up your own symbols. So sometimes when you're taking notes, you don't have time to write down the full word. So it's okay if you shorten it. Shortening words is known as abbreviations. My turn, abbreviations. Your turn, abbreviations. That's absolutely fine as long as you understand what you're writing. Excellent. Now, for your task, you're going to be researching on how to protect the bees. Now, we've learnt about the bees during our science lesson and how they are endangered species. So if you didn't watch that lesson, I suggest you go and watch that. And then we're going to be, but first, before our research, we need to plan our subheadings. So when we know the different subheadings, it makes our task easier when we're researching because we know exactly what we're looking for. Now, for example, our subheadings will have an introduction. You can have, why are bees so important to the world? Another subheading could be queen bee. Fourth subheading, different species of bees. Fifth subheading, bee characteristics. Number 6, why are bees dying? And number 7, how to help bees. Now you can also come up with some of your own subheadings, or you can use the subheadings that I have over here and just write it in your own words. That's absolutely fine. If you think of any subheadings, feel free to add it. You can add like a fun facts section as well. So don't forget that these will help us when we're researching because you know exactly what to look for. So in your text, if you have a text and you're looking for why are bees dying, if there's a section on endangered species, you can go straight to that section instead of reading the whole report. Excellent. Now, how to do effective research? Do not copy the information. You need to put it in your own words so you understand it. This is very important. It's vital that you understand this because if you're just copying down information, you won't know. You're just copying, but you're not understanding what you're writing. So that's why when you're reading it, you need to pause, summarize it in your own words. You can even talk about it with an adult so that it helps you, and then you can write down the notes. That way you'll always understand what you've read. And when you are reading through information, it is helpful to make notes as you go along and focus on key information and choose what is relevant to the topic that you're researching and interesting to you. So our topic is how to protect the bees. So you need to look for information that's relevant to that. Now below over here are some useful links to websites and videos that I would like you to use when you're doing your research. And it's also useful to put your information into the correct subheadings that we just discussed, or any that you come up with, so that it is easier when you are writing your final non-chronological information leaflet, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating an information leaflet at the end of this topic. So there's some links over here to websites and there's some videos as well that I would like you to watch. Now take your time with your research, and of course, so unfortunately, because due to the coronavirus, our libraries aren't open, so you can't access non-fiction books, but that's also useful when you do your research in the future. Non-fiction books are definitely useful. So, but for now, we have videos that you can watch and you can pause it and take your notes, and you have useful links as well. So don't forget to look at the subheadings and think about our topic and think about which subheading is relevant to that topic instead of reading the whole article or the whole text. So these links, I'll try to put some of them in the description below and also on the Year 4 online learning platform for you to access. So don't forget, do your research, write down notes, just like we learned how to write down notes. You can use a concept map, you can shorten words, abbreviation, just write down the key information and remember to write it down in your own words on what we can do to protect the bees. So remember, there were the three main elements on how to protect the bees and why, three elements on why bees are endangered. If you recall from a science lesson, it was the habitat loss, it was the varromites, and it was also the pesticides, which was a form of poison. So I'm sure you'll go through all of that in your research. And once you're done, you can take a picture and show me your great note taking for your non-chronological information leaflet. And over here, there's also some fact cards that you can just pause each section and just read some facts about bees. So bees love flowers, bees make yummy honey in a honeycomb, bees are very important and there are not enough bees in the world, so we can help save them. And they are super fast flyers, so you can just pause each section and read it to yourself. Excellent. So I see you in our next lesson where you'll be having your spelling test, so make sure you revise those words. Well done, everyone.